And welcome to another exciting episode of the KLIQ Nation's Comic Book Chronicles. I am your host, Tim D.O. Double G, and there's only going to be one chime tonight because I'm on the show solo. Yes, at least as of right now, there is no Roddy Cat, there is no Dirt, and there is no Agent 70. Everyone is tied up in other things right now. I may or may not be joined later tonight. Depends on how long I have the show running for, doing it by myself. But never fear, I will still bring you your comic book entertainment news and comic book news along with reviews and at least myself, my click of the week. But first, make sure to go to the website, thekliqnation.com, where you can find previous episodes of the Comic Book Chronicles and comic book reviews. Follow the Twitter account at thekliqnation. Like the Facebook fan page, facebook.com/thekliqnation. Add us to your circles on Google+. Just search for The KLIQ Nation and also make sure to join the KLIQ Nation community. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, youtube.com/thekliqnation. And while you're subscribing to things, make sure to also subscribe to us on iTunes and Stitcher Radio. Search for The KLIQ Nation. Make sure to give us 5-star reviews on iTunes and give us good star treatment on Stitcher. We are a part of the Cold Slither Podcast Network and Comic Related Podcasting Networks. Go to their websites, coldslitherpodcast.com and comicrelated.com. We're live every Thursday night, 9 p.m. Eastern Time. Make sure to use the hashtag Comic Book Chronicles on your favorite social media websites. And if you ever have any feedback you want to have read on a future show, send that on over to thekliqnation@gmail.com. All right. My man Roddy Cat was nice enough to assemble some of the comic book news this week, as he always does. So let's take a look and see what's in the news. Let's see. Brian Michael Bendis was on one of the late night talk shows, Seth Meyers' late night show, where he tried to explain Secret Wars to 1.5 million people and also clowned Glenn Beck. Let's see. Oscar winner Julia Roberts is going to helm a movie starring the Bat Kid that made news last year. And it'll be called Bat Kid Begins. Fox is in discussions for a live X-Men live action series to go along with Gotham. David Tennant, who I hear was one of the doctors on Doctor Who, is joining Marvel's aka Jessica Jones on Netflix. Gotham cast Calm Fiore as villainous doll maker. The Flash is teasing Gorilla Grodd in a future episode. Arrow's Felicity Smoke and Ray Palmer are the guest star on The Flash together. And speaking of both shows, Arrow and The Flash both came on this week. I watched both. On Arrow, well, let's see, Flash came on Tuesday night, and they introduced Pied Piper, who was a very smart and scheming villain. But of course, Team Arrow was able to develop a plan of action to take him down. And on Arrow, we got more of, I guess we really got the introduction of Laurel Lance as Black Canary, and her working along with Arsenal and Diggle and Felicity, of course. We found out that Daniel Bruhl is playing the role of Baron Zemo in Captain America Civil War. because besides having the heroes fight amongst themselves, there still has to be a central villain. I wonder, and then I wonder even just how central will Baron Zemo be in Civil War, because we all know that, like for example, Age of Ultron, Ultron is the main villain in that movie, but we also remember hearing how Baron von Strucker has a role to play, but his role has been hardly been discussed at all. Besides him being the one controlling the twins, Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch. But it's like, is he just gonna be a one and done character, or will we see him in future movies, and will he even have a big role in Age of Ultron? Period. There's some more casting in AKA Jessica Jones, as Rachel Taylor is playing Trish Walker slash Hellcat. That I believe came out today, that announcement. So last week I believe we mentioned that Supergirl is a go on CBS, and along with that, we find out that Jimmy Olsen will be played by McCad Brooks, who I believe was on the USA Network series Unnecessary Roughness and the HBO series True Blood. So of course, I'm sure I missed if the internet actually went crazy on whether or not went crazy on Jimmy Olsen being cast as an African American, but I myself didn't catch any negative feedback. So good for Mr. Brooks. And that's about it for the cinematic news. Let's get to some of the actual comic book news this week. Uh, the comic book writer Jim Zub started a hashtag on social media for comics, where you to join in on the hashtag fun, you would share 4 comic book covers that influenced you as a kid, not the covers themselves, but just the comics. I participated. I shared an issue of Amazing Spider-Man where uh, I think it was like back in the 90s. I probably should remember this specific issue number since it holds a special place in my heart. But it was the part 1 of the round robin, the Sidekick's Revenge. I believe the cover has Spider-Man, Punisher, and Darkhawk on it. I shared that. Shared X-Men #1 from Chris Claremont and Jim Lee. Uh, I might have showed. I think. Let's see. I got on my phone here. I can pull those pictures up quickly. So yes, I shared those 2. X-Force #1, and of course, my iPhone wants to pop up some iCloud Photo Library beta message. Uh, Not now. And the last issue. Okay, so and the last edition was an issue of New Warriors that had X-Force villain Gideon on it. So those were my contributions. And of course, you can still join in the discussion if you want to. Just use the hashtag 4comics, and that's 4 spelled out FOUR. Marvel will start revealing some of the final Secret Wars banners. War Zones was one of them. So of course there's War Zones, Battle World, and Last Days are the 3 banners that comics in Secret Wars will fall under. Kamala Khan, Miss Marvel to the rescue on San Francisco buses. So there are some buses out in San Francisco that have, I believe they have anti-Semitic messages, sort of like ad space put on them. And someone went around and made some promo ads to stick over them that involve Miss Marvel. So that was kind of cool. Wizard World Comic Con launches C2E2 spoiler event for March. Not entirely sure what this is. I'm going to try to click the link here and see if it'll open quick enough where I can talk about it. But since it's just me on the show, you guys don't mind waiting, I'm sure. No problem is I have too many tabs open on my computer right now. Let's see. And of course, this is coming from Bleeding Cool. Uh, and let's do. I don't want to get into all that right now. Link seemed to involve too much reading. Gail Simone tops Comicsology submit sales for 2014 with the book that I can't remember the name of, but I'm gonna click on the link to make sure I get the name out there so people can go check it out. Leaving Megalopolis. It seemed like my uh, mastery of the English language was a lot better when I was younger. There was another hashtag movement started this week. Mute my phones here. And that was from Boom Studios as they start. They want to make 2015. I think they're celebrating their 10th anniversary this year, and so they're doing the push comics forward hashtag comics forward, where basically they're trying to start the discussion of getting people to, publishers and to publishers to start making comics to incorporate everyone, not just, I guess, superhero books, but for books for kids, books starring non-traditional superhero characters, and more diversity in the characters in the books, and also character diversity behind the scenes as far as creators go. So just check out the hashtag Comics Forward. And Comics Alliance had an interview with the Boom editor-in-chief Matt Gagnon. Marvel started releasing some news on some of the comics that fall under their Secret Wars Last Days banner. I believe it. Magneto will tell a tale with him and Polaris. Captain America and the Mighty Avengers, and Loki, Agent of Asgard, both from Al Ewing. Lego's fabled Shield helicarrier is real, and it's spectacular. So for, I believe, something around the price range of $350, you can get a Marvel Shield helicarrier that I believe has like 3,000 pieces to it. So for you Lego fanatics out there, you have something to save up money for. Marvel and Funko launch Collector Core, and a Secret Wars series banner or image that was teased back last year when Secret Wars first being teased was the Inhuman Attilan Rising, and we find out that Inhuman writer Charles Soule, surprise, will be the writer on that. And it's like basically a series starring Black Bolt and Medusa, both sort of on different sides of a war going on. In variant cover news, we have the evolution of Howard the Duck variants. A former Batman artist, Bray Forgoal, his Batman Beyond original cover up for bid to benefit the artist. I believe he had a illness. Can't remember if it was a stroke or not, but I know a fund account was set up where people could donate to him. All right. Now seems like a good time to get to the reading of the commercial ads that keep our podcasts free. And this is My Comic Shop. Bring it here so I'm not looking off to the side. Today's podcast is sponsored by My Comic Shop. Go to coldslitterpodcast.com, then click on the Keep Our Podcast Free link at the top of the page. From there, click on the My Comic Shop banner and order from a vast selection of new releases, back issues, vintage classics, graphic novels, and more to be delivered right to your door. Why bother schlepping to the local comic book store when you can order your books online? My Comic Shop through coldslitterpodcast.com. Do it today. Now, let's see. The show is going by quick because it's just me, and at least I was able to read slightly more books than I have the previous weeks. And while I'm sitting here rambling, a thought came to my mind while I was preparing for the show, and that is since I end up, we New Comic Book Day is Wednesday, and we record on Thursday, so that doesn't really give us much time to read everything on Wednesday, to be able to speak on everything on Thursday night. So what I may start doing, this isn't definite because the idea just came to me tonight, is I may start recording like a Comic Book Chronicles episode 104.5 episode between each Wednesday, sometime like maybe after the weekend or during the weekend, and just do like quick reviews of the books I read over the weekend, because I end up reading a lot of stuff from the week on the weekend, which doesn't make it onto the next week's reviews because they're a week old. But I still kind of would feel the need to want to at least share my thoughts on them. I end up sharing a lot of, sometimes I share my thoughts on Twitter, but and also I guess I could try to write reviews, but I haven't done those in a little while. Uh, so the point five episodes might become a thing, and if they do, I'll make sure to share them. And of course, they'd be on the YouTube channel, youtube.com/the Click Nation. And make sure to remember which sound effect is which this week. So I'm rocking the soundboard. Now let's see, what did I read this week? Let's start off with Thor #4, as I watch my dog sleep upside down. Hmm. So this was the big showdown of versus Thor, the new goddess of thunder versus Thor, Odin's son, minus an arm and a hammer. So they fought each other. They sort of teased who possibly could be the goddess of thunder, but then it was quickly revealed at the end that this was just a tease, and that's not who is uh, the new Thor after all. Thor gave his blessings to the new Thor. As he said, he doesn't trust her, but he trusts Mjolnir. So if Mjolnir trusts the new Thor, then that's good enough for him. And we saw uh, Dario Agger and Malekith perhaps forming an alliance together. New Avengers #29. This is, of course, the 4 months. Time runs out in 4 months. And my notes for this issue were, did anything really happen in this issue? There was a lot of exposition, a lot of talking, where at least we do find out that during the 8 month time jump, while the Illuminati were running from the various were running from their various Avengers teams, the Shield Avengers mostly, that the Illuminati were going out and trying to stop the incursions from occurring. They weren't just standing by not caring while these different Earths were in different universes were being destroyed. They just were uh, they just failed while doing it. And it's funny because when I was on one of the first pages that has like the roster lineup of everyone that's involved in this huge, massive story, I was looking at the Illuminati roster and kept saying to myself, there was a new member added to the new Avengers lineup that they haven't no one's really mentioned before. And then, of course, at the end of the issue, surprise, surprise, us we get to see this person again. And if you see the cover, I guess if I had enough time of this beforehand, I would have made sure to grab the covers for the books I read so I could share them on the screen like Dirt always does. But the Beyonder is on the cover, and with, of course, the character that I said was missing all this time, and we sort of we get like a revelation, kind of a big one, and I guess the clues were always there if we had just paid attention. Maybe you readers out there noticed it and I just didn't, but another small piece of the puzzle. But after how exciting the last issue was, or last issue of Avengers, I suppose it was, with Black Panther taking out Namor and the Cabal, this was a more slower issue. We had a new number one this week, the second volume of Uncanny Avengers, where Rogue assembles a new Unity squad to go in search of Scarlet Witch, who herself is partnering with her brother Quicksilver to try to find the secrets of their heritage that was revealed to be a lie during Avengers and X-Men Axis. This journey takes them to the Counter Earth universe, and I don't know. I enjoyed the last volume of Uncanny Avengers a lot more than this intro issue, which, granted, this is just the first issue, so the story has to get going, but I don't know. It's like it could have been more done here. I said in my show notes that I'm fearful that I won't like this new iteration of the team. Plus, I've never cared about the High Evolutionary, who appears to be the main villain of this first arc. Just the whole Wendigo Mountain and High Evolutionary, that they and I guess since that's Jack Kirby inspiration, seems like a lot of the Kirby stuff I never grasped onto. I do want to find out, what's going on with Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch, but the Remendo will have to do a big job of making me care about the High Evolutionary. The team assembled is different. Of course, it's Quicksilver, Scarlet Witch, Rogue, uh, Sam Wilson as Captain America, Vision, and Brother Voodoo, and an inversion version of the inversed Sabretooth, who Remender writes him pretty well. His version of his version of the Vision was very cranky, which I don't know, that kind of took me by surprise because I didn't read every issue of Avengers AI, but I don't believe he was so bitter in that series. Of course, a lot of his bitterness comes from them having to go search for his ex-wife Wanda. But what would be cool is, since they're dealing with the heritage of Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch here, as if Scarlet Witch's kids from the Young Avengers, Wiccan and Hulkling, or actually not, I'm sorry, Wiccan and the speedster guy whose name I can't think of, make an appearance. And just going back to Thor number 4, I mentioned in my notes that the dialogue by Jason Aaron was brilliant here, along with the art from Russell Dodderman. All right. Next up, we have Uncanny X-Men number 30, where there's a couple of different stories being told here. One is Shield searching the site of where it appears that Matthew Malloy, Cyclops, and Magic were killed by a helicarrier assault team. You have Eva Bell, who's gone back into the past to warn Charles Xavier about how to handle about his handling of Matthew Malloy. You have the uh, Charles Xavier School of X-Men, which is Scott Summers' team. You have them trying to decide what they need to do because they've always kind of been just on the sideline and haven't really gone, taken a stand against anything. And as I'm telling this, see Dirt is reaching out to me, so maybe he's ready to be joined into the show. So excuse me while I check on this for a couple of seconds here. See what he has to say. Waiting with bated breath. Yep, I guess he is ready. Hopefully he wasn't waiting for me the entire time. Let's see if he can join on the show. Nope, there he is. Maybe.
Hmm.
Hello, I see you.
Can you see me?
I do.
Because I'm not seeing any video streaming on here.
I see you in the dark.
Well, I am kind of in the dark. I am sitting in the van, waiting for a tow truck.
Oh,
um, we had a flat tire, and the problem is we already have the spare on. And it was one of those things last weekend. I was going to go get the other tire patch and get the spare off, and I just didn't have time and didn't get to it. And of course, here we are.
here we are indeed.
So I'm trying to see if I can get some light here.
You're gonna end up killing your battery trying to get lights on.
Let's see here.
Yeah,
Okay.
you had me feeling bad for a minute there. I thought that I was doing this show by myself and you were like sitting there waiting for me to send the invite or something.
Well, I didn't know if you had started yet or not.
Oh yeah, I've been rocking and rolling. I'm already doing my reviews.
Oh, is this live? Are we on?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought we were just hanging out talking. I didn't realize this is actually broadcasting.
Oh, my bad.
Hey, everybody, how's it going?
Yeah, you're decent, so don't worry.
All right. Well, I mean, if you can see me, like I said, I can't see anything here on my phone. I don't I don't know if you can see
Your
what's
voice
going
is
on.
low, but I mean I can hear you.
I'm using this headset that I had in the car.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
okay, so anyway, if you're already talking about comics then?
Yeah,
Did you talk about New Avengers?
I did, but like 2 seconds ago.
Oh, okay. Well, that is one of the ones that I read this
Okay.
week, actually. Um, It's one of those. I looked at the front cover and I thought initially that that was going to be like Mastermind or some version of like the Toy Maker or Puppet Master or something like that. It didn't really hit me on what that actually was until I got to the end where they mention who that dude is, and suddenly I realized, oh, that's who that guy is. And of course, there's Secret Wars on the cover. I don't know if you spoiled who that character is.
Um, I just said that if you look at the cover, you know who it is.
Yeah, yeah. Well, once you realize that he's wearing the white leather uh, Miami Vice outfit from the '80s, then you can realize who that character is. I was actually really excited when I got to that ending. Like, I wasn't really sure where the story was going, and of course they kept like mentioning things that didn't really make sense, couldn't really understand, you know. But
Hmm.
then once you get to that ending and they mention who these guys are, and then suddenly the cover makes sense, and I just, oh, that's who that is. So I got real excited at that point.
Yeah.
So I'm actually
Well, which
kind of
character are you
looking.
talking about? The
Well,
one being
I'll just
held?
say it. Spoiler, ding dong,
Oh, wait.
the Beyonder.
Okay.
Once I saw that that's actually the Beyonder, then I was real excited. So I am looking forward to seeing where that goes. I always liked that character, and part of that's probably because reading Secret Wars is one of those things I grew up on. You know, so that helps.
I also put in my notes that I said that anything really happened in this issue because I mean
Really,
they talked. There was a lot of talking. I guess
yeah, that's
they explained what the Illuminati had been doing the 8 months. They weren't just running from the Shield Avengers. They also were trying to stop their incursions. They were just uh, they weren't successful.
right. Yeah, that was another thing. There was a lot of trying to explain things going on, and it did that Hickman thing where he jumps through time.
Hmm.
You realize that part of it is kind of going back to something you'd seen in the past, and then he's jumping ahead to new stuff. And so at first I'm like, well, is this a day later? Like what? I don't understand what's going on. And then I realized that he was jumping way back and then jumping way forward,
Yeah.
and it made more sense. But that's kind of the Hickman thing. You gotta kind of used to that mumbo jumbo, right?
All right.
Um, let's see, what else did I read?
You read
Batman.
Batman?
Yeah.
I didn't, but
Um, okay.
I just figured you probably had read it.
Well, Scott Snyder is adding something new to the Batman mythos. Something that's actually kind of, I don't know, brazen, I guess you could say, that he's adding to the Batman mythos. Um, the idea of Ra's al Ghul and the Lazarus pits bringing him back to life, making him immortal. Um, you find out, of course, there are other immortals in the DC universe. There are guys like Vandal Savage, who was a caveman, and this meteorite fell, and it gave him immortality, and so he's been walking the earth forever. Things like that. Well, the past couple issues of Batman have had people telling this legend of the Joker as this guy who's been around for hundreds of years. And of course, Batman goes to like the library or whatever, and he finds like this old photograph, and it's a guy that looks like the Joker, and he's trying to figure out how Joker was able to, Photoshop this and get it into the archives where people would find it, and trying to unravel this conspiracy. And it looks like what Snyder is actually doing is saying that Joker is another one of these guys, that he actually has access to this immortality stuff, whether it be from the minerals that are in the Lazarus pit, or if he found part of that meteorite from Vandal Savage or whatever. But Joker is legitimately several hundred years old, at least. And so that, of course, makes the Joker into a much different character, especially if you now think of him in terms of a guy who's been around for several hundred years, and now he finally sees something in Batman that draws him out, that makes him become this more out front character than what he had been. So it kind of changes the dynamic there by making the Joker into an actual superpowered being in a way. Even though he's not like picking up cars and chucking them across, the fact that he is technically someone who can't die. And then that kind of goes back to, if you think about all the stuff that's happened with Joker in this run, where it looked like he died when his face got cut off, and then it looked like he died when he fell off the bridge or the catwalk, into the sewers. All these times that it looked like he should have been gone, and this gives an explanation as to why he came back. It wasn't just randomly the writer going back to this character again and again. It's that he actually had this in mind all along, which I thought was pretty nifty.
Okay.
So Batman was cool.
Has me interested in reading it. Right before you got on, I was rambling about how we were New Comic Book Day is Wednesday and record Thursday night, so that doesn't really give us much time to get a lot of stuff read before we hit the record button. So I was thinking maybe of doing like a start maybe like a point five like series, like Comic Book Chronicles episode 104.5, where maybe I like over the weekend or maybe like Tuesday night or some night, not sure yet. Like
You
I just
mean
get on and like do the reviews of the books I read that weekend, which would have included all the stuff from that week, that Wednesday.
yeah. Well,
Just
or
a
you
thought.
could always add, like, before you get into the new books of the week, you could say, you're gonna do house cleaning or whatever, talking about stuff that came out last week.
Yeah, that's true. That would just make the episode
Unless
even
you're trying
longer.
to do a second show to pad your resume,
Yeah,
but
so that's kind of what I was thinking. Also, get those get those hits
get those
up.
numbers up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Uh,
What else did you read? We actually
I
might be joined
read.
by Agent 70 soon. He asked for the invite, but
Okay.
he hasn't joined yet.
Although sometimes he gets the invite and then has to boot up his laptop and stuff, and it takes a while.
Yeah, I'm about to just put it in the chat for him. He never gets
Let's
the
see.
invites.
What else did I read? Oh, Doberman. Okay, let me talk about this. This is from IDW. It's a series called Doberman. I've talked about it in the past. It's about this 80s cop who's one of those, crazy, reckless, gets drunk and beats people up and is always hitting on the chicks and everything like that. So the final issue came out, and this was the final confrontation between him and the bad guy who he's been chasing through this series. This is issue number 5. And I see Agent 70's there. How's it going? Two thumbs up. All right. You'll have to wait a minute and get the explanation about why I'm sitting in the dark. Um, so in Doberman, it's the final confrontation. He's going for the big, standoff, and they basically pull every cliche they possibly can from every final battle of every Schwarzenegger movie, every Stallone movie, every Jean-Claude Van Damme, every single one of those that you can think of. Any cliche, any trope that goes along with those, they threw in here. 9,000 things happen in this issue, and it's all golden. Like, it is just fantastic. Like, I love everything about this series. It is, if you're a fan of all those 80s movies, all those kick butt movies, the cop movies and soldier movies and whatever, I mean, this is all of that, and treated in the best way possible. Like, it's kind of making fun of it, but at the same time, it's, being reverent to it. So Doberman, the final issue, fifth issue came out, so there'll be a trade of it coming soon, I'm sure. So if you can't pick up the issues, pick up the trade. But it's definitely something I would recommend, especially if you love those action movies, you love those '80s, over the top machismo movies. This series was just phenomenal, and it's one of those things that now that it's over, I probably will sit down this weekend and read through all 5 issues again in one sitting, and relive it like I'm watching the movie, because it is a lot of fun.
Nice. You there, Agent 70? We can't hear you. Not yet. See your mouth moving, but nothing.
It shows you as being muted on
How
my end.
that? How's that?
Now we
There.
hear you.
Still no?
Yeah, we hear you.
Yeah, hear you.
We hear you. Can you hear us?
Oh,
Nope.
he left.
And now he's gone. To go over what I had talked about before you jumped on, I guess I could wait till he gets back, so I don't have to.
And now he's
He
back.
doesn't feel left out. Since I was running solo tonight, I've actually felt good. I actually read like 5 books myself. I mean, they were all Marvel books, but still.
Now can you hear me? I feel like I'm in a
Yes.
Verizon commercial.
Yep.
There we go. So I'm gonna have to wait for Dirt's explanation as to why he's sitting in the dark.
Yeah, well, basically, I'm sitting in a parking lot waiting for a tow truck. The family's already been picked up by my mom was nice enough to come and ferry them back home, and now I'm waiting for the tow truck because when you drive with the spare tire on your car, it doesn't leave you any backup should another tire go down.
Damn, yo.
So there's something to keep in mind.
See, now Dirt wins the award for most intrepid and most
I'm dedicated.
yeah, I was about to say steadfast. That was the word I was looking for. Steadfast and dedicated member of the Comic Book Chronicles for doing the show
Yeah.
live from his stranded car.
Live via
Via
satellite.
car. That's
That's pretty
dope.
awesome. That's pretty awesome.
So before both of you joined on, I just quickly go over the books I did review. I talked about Thor #4, New
Which was
Avengers.
pretty good.
Yeah, it actually might be my click of the week.
No kidding.
We both talked about New Avengers 29,
Okay.
and I talked about Uncanny Avengers 1.
Which was underwhelming.
Yes, glad I wasn't the only one
Well,
that thought that.
isn't that kind of the story of Uncanny Avengers anyway?
Sort of, but I think that like going into, I'm glad. Listen, this is like a real great thing for me. I can kind of get my mind off things and jump right into comics because this is what I was using to kind of pass the time today. Um, the funny thing about Uncanny Avengers is that it at least had that cool premise. It had cool art at the beginning, and it just had a great premise that I guess paid off to some extent. And it had the Unity Avenger Squad, Unity Avengers X-Men Squad kind of explode, and now they've reformed. But what I don't like is that the reappearance of can we? You guys talked about it already, right, on the air? I'm not spoiling anything,
I
right?
talked about it, but
Right.
yeah,
So you talked about who the big bad of the first arc is, right?
yeah, and I talked about how I've never liked that character.
Exactly. So, this is again Remender kind of mining early and mid 90s Marvel, not necessarily for the better, and bringing back, this is I'm going to spoil who it is if you didn't just let out the name of the character.
Oh, I've talked about him.
Okay. So, if anyone remembers the Evolutionary War series of annuals, that was a big crossover, right? That was an event back in the early 90s where the High Evolutionary was, I don't even remember what his grand plan was, but
I don't
uh,
either.
his plan basically touched on every annual um, for pretty much every comic book in the Marvel universe that was being printed at the time, and line wide there was a banner at the top that said Evolutionary War, and I don't recall that story being very interesting. I don't recall that story being very eventful. I don't recall that story being very impactful. So why bring the High Evolutionary back? And use him to kick off what's supposed to be one of the more marquee Avengers slash X-Men books, because that's what it is. It's a slash book. It involves both groups. So I was pretty underwhelmed by that. I was surprisingly underwhelmed by the. Is it Akuna's art?
Yes.
I was surprisingly underwhelmed by that too. It just did not strike me as very dynamic as it usually does. Um,
Like he wasn't really given anything to really, go crazy with though.
that's true. That's true. I'll give you that. I'll give you that. That's a fair point to make. But yeah, I was, like I said, my one word review of Uncanny Avengers #1, Volume 2 is underwhelming.
Here,
That's
here.
Yeah, there you go. So you got through a couple of Marvel books?
Yeah, you can talk about Thor 4 if you want to just
Well, I
jump in with
liked
it.
Thor 4. I liked Thor 4. It was a great non-resolution issue, right? Where we get the resolution of some things that were outstanding, namely, so what is Thor Odinson going to say when this new Thor is running around? And they meet up and they fight. What's going to happen? We get that resolution. Two, we also get what seems to be a resolution in that we have narrowed down the possibilities of who the new Thor is. It is not Freya.
And we also got Thor versus Thor.
Right. Right. Well, yeah, like I said, we get them duking it out. So that was pretty interesting. That was pretty interesting.
Yeah.
So I liked it. It was a good, like I said, it was a good issue that resolved things and left other things unresolved, obviously for the furtherment of the story. So for the furthering of the story. So we'll see where it goes from here. But it was a good. It was a good issue that moved things along and definitely harkened back to some of the things that happened in the Thor: God of Thunder series, because there are some narration boxes that's Thor Odinson speaking
Hmm.
at the end where he says, "Well, I know this happens to me. I know I live till the end of time, and I also know that this isn't the last page of my story with this hammer." You know, so that was pretty cool.
Okay.
So let's see.
And I think, oh yeah, I started Uncanny X-Men 30.
That was actually pretty good. Uncanny X-Men 30 was pretty good. Um, I liked it.
Seems like
There's
there's a lot
more
of
time.
things
time
being juggled.
yes, time hopping. That's the prime part of the story. But there's also fallout from what happens at the end of the last issue, and we have um, Matthew Malloy causing all sorts of uh, shenanigans. I don't know if there's probably a heavier way to put it, but he's definitely not just causing shenanigans. Um, his power set is extensive, but not godlike. We'll put it that way. I'm not really spoiling anything, but he tries to do some things in this issue that he's unable to do, and it doesn't exactly set a limit on his powers, but it does show that he's not completely godlike. And there is some more time travel shenanigans in this issue. This is X-Men after all. This is like their new thing. It's not a new thing for X-Men, but this is like the common theme in all the X-Men books right now. Let's see. Did you read Inhuman #11?
Was the last book I read.
All right, what'd you think?
That was another contender for Click of the Week.
That was good, right?
I even made the last page my Twitter avatar.
Yes, I saw that. I saw that. Just as I was looking for the show link, I saw that. That was pretty interesting.
And I tweeted it to Charles Soule and Ryan Steckman, and Steckman was like, "Spoiler!" Which it's funny. After I tweeted it, like 5 minutes after I tweeted it, I was like, "Oh, I guess that could almost be considered a spoiler." But
Right?
you'd have to actually be following me to see it. So
Exactly. You got it. But no, I mean, you know what? It wasn't the biggest spoiler because obviously he's in the issue previous to this, if I recall correctly.
hmm
But it is now setting up, what is on the cover of the next issue. And I'm fairly certain next issue is not going to be one of those issues that the cover has nothing to do with what's inside the issue.
Oh, it's about the cover for next issue.
Yeah, the cover for next issue. I
It
think there's
might.
going to
There
be.
might be a confrontation.
Exactly. I'm pretty certain it's going to be related to what happens inside the issue. That's just my guess.
I will say I enjoyed the sub story with Medusa.
Reader? Oh, okay.
Hey, it was something
Um,
different.
yeah, you know what? They have to explore her character because they can't just keep her as, the sidekick queen.
Yeah.
She's there's a reason why they made her front and center for the Inhumans when it came to the inversion, and it's good that they're still exploring the character in that regard. You wonder if they're maybe not using her as another prime candidate as a female hero or female, at least a female protagonist in these stories, as opposed to just having more, more dudes, lead these comics. All right, let's see. Any DC?
We
J-
discussed Batman a few minutes ago.
You did.
Yes.
Okay, so just very very quickly about Batman. Um, I liked the ending of it. But I didn't like necessarily the um. I've reached my last straw because I never thought that I'd see Batman ever say that.
Wait. What?
Or I've
Oh, you mean where the who he goes back to for help?
exactly like I'm at the end of my rope.
Yeah, that's the spoiler we didn't give away.
Right, exactly. I didn't want to go into it, but I haven't. But that's something that happens in this book. That Batman, reaches a point of desperation. We'll put it that way.
I do like the way though that they've changed the legend of the Joker and who he is and where it looks like he's coming from,
Hmm.
being someone who has an ability, even though, like I said earlier when we were talking about it, he's not a guy who's like picking up cars and chucking them across the city, but he apparently has a a super power now, so to speak,
Hmm.
which also explains some of the other things that have happened with the character in the New 52, where it looked like he was gone and never coming back, and then he kept coming back. It's like, well, how the heck does this work? And now we know.
Right.
So I do enjoy the way, and also the way that it makes the character as a guy who's been around a lot longer than people realize. He was more or less um, hidden and kept to himself until Batman comes along, and that's what causes him to become the Joker. Like that causes him to become the man he becomes.
Hmm.
So there is a dynamic between them that otherwise wasn't there.
Right. It's interesting. I'd like to see this continue to play out.
We'll see if Convergence though wipes it all clean and gets rid of it.
True enough.
But there is an article I on News Rumble. I made sure not to read it because it spoiled some stuff from in I guess this week's issue. But they supposedly I guess Snyder said that there's gonna be like some brand new status quo after Convergence that's never been done before with Batman.
Hmm.
So speculate away.
Hmm. You know what? I actually skimmed the Multiversity guidebook.
Yeah, I did
How
too.
was that? I downloaded it to flip through.
It was weird, but I like the quick summaries of all the different worlds. So I thought the lead into that was kind of off. I mean, odd, but I didn't read it that carefully because uh, I'm not all that interested in trying to read all of Multiversity. But I liked the book for what it was, which is like a nice quick
Yeah,
summary of what
I
the
didn't
worlds are.
expect there to be a story to it. Like there's
Right,
actually a comic story, and that part I actually could have done without. I would have been fine
right.
with. But flipping through the pages in Earth 21, and it has a drawing of the characters and tells you a little
Hmm.
bit about the history. That I actually found interesting.
Right. That's what I wanted out of this book. It was the story part that was kind of awkward.
Yeah, I just wanted to flip through and look at the pretty pictures. That's basically what I do with the multiversity issues. I actually do uh,
Right.
flip through. It's not much reading. I read a little bit, but then it's mostly like just enjoying the art.
Hmm. I was about to say, speaking of enjoying the art, Gotham Academy #4. Anybody?
Not yet.
No,
No. Oh, I won't spoil too much. There is an appearance by a member of Batman's Rogues Gallery.
which
Uh,
also explains some of the. They actually explained quite a bit in this issue.
yes.
Like
Is
this is
that
the one where they explained the eyeballs peeking through the walls. They
Mm-hmm.
explained supposed ghost sightings.
Exactly.
is that why
Um,
everyone's been going so crazy for it this week, even before like Wednesday came out? Like there were so many interviews and hoopla I saw online over it.
it that may very well be because this is the one where everybody who's been reading it and if they've been confused and wondering like what the heck is going on, this is the issue where it lays a lot of that out on the table.
Okay, cool.
I guess the one other book that I'll talk about from DC here is Star Spangled War Stories featuring GI Zombie, continuing on. And um, what's happening is there's a group basically heading towards Armageddon. They're trying to get these biological and chemical weapons ready. They're going to attack the United States in order to make the government crumble so that they can move in and take over. So it's a conspiracy, um, paramilitary organization doing this stuff. But the thing is, um, their biological weapon basically turns people into zombies, and not zombies really, but more of like the 28 Days Later type zombies. So you've got a zombie in GI Zombie who is a actual living dead guy. You can, cut his head off and he'll, fuse it back together and he'll keep on living, taking on basically 28 Days Later type zombies. They had one missile went rogue and came down in this small town and turned everybody into zombies. He's been fighting them for the last, I don't know, two issues, whatever. And now that that's all finally cleared and taken care of, you get this big kind of James Bond elaborate scheme is finally unfolding, and you see they have these stockpiles of all these weapons, and they're getting ready to attack the United States, and he's got to stop it from happening. So you've gone from crazy war stories to The Living Dead to 28 Days Later style rage zombies to a James Bond into the world, evil apocalyptic group taking over. It's just got all this stuff mashed together in such this weird and wonderful way. And it really hit me reading this issue how much the art has really progressed since the first issue because the artist, and I don't have the book sitting in front of me, so I can't pull out any names. But what the artist does is draws in a line style that is very simple and angular. It's very much like a Mike Mignola Hellboy type style.
Hmm.
But then they do all the coloring, and the coloring is almost like a painted airbrush type look on top of this angular line style. So the line artwork is very flat and almost has a European feel to it. But then the colors add a lot of depth and shade and texture that you're not getting from the art, from the line work itself. So it's really unusual. And the first couple issues, I wasn't too sure that it was quite working right, and they were kind of playing around with it and trying to figure out the best way to make it work. But in this issue, it really kind of hit me how far they've come along and how much they've perfected the style. And it looks so much better now than it did, just 5 issues ago. It's the same artist doing the same thing, but now they've had more, practice. They're doing it more, and they've refined it more, and now it actually works pretty well. And so, I just love these kind of far out stories anyway. But this one's just a lot of fun, and I'm going to be kind of sad when it goes away because I know it's only got I think maybe one issue left, and then it's over.
Okay,
Sorry about that, fellas. I had to go incommunicado for a second.
that's
Okay.
good. Fine. We just heard the was it GI Star
Star Spangled
Spangled?
War Stories.
Yeah, Star Spangled War Stories review.
All right, featuring GI Zombie. That's the part you
That's
were going to
right.
put in.
One of them zombies.
Let's see. Um, what else? What else? What else?
Did we talk about? Yeah, we did talk in human. Never mind.
Yep, yep, yep. Let me just check the Marvel list. That's all I got was Marvel and DC. All New Invaders 14. Anybody read that?
No.
I know that that Roddy Cat probably read it. All New Invaders number 14 is, I think, the penultimate issue to invade to the All New Invaders. It brings the events of the Inhuman comic directly into the pages of All New Invaders, and brings in a character from the Inhuman comic directly into the pages of All New Invaders. Um,
I need to read it then.
yes, there is a development with regards to Toro, the former sidekick to the android Human Torch, who is now revealed to be an Inhuman. God forbid we have another Inhuman retcon. Where is it? Where is it? I know you guys have been missing the sound effects.
Hey, I've
Um,
been doing it myself.
oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. Um, like I said, it's funny to see the retcon Inhuman genome put into the Marvel universe. Um, like I said, this is the penultimate issue, so it does feel like things are getting ready to wrap up, but at a great, at a great, almost at a great cost to the development of these characters. James Robinson has actually introduced a couple of interesting characters that I would like to see explored more closely. The new Iron Cross, Radiance, well, I guess what's happening to Toro now. It's there's one thing that's kind of odd about this issue is that because it's all new invaders, you see Namor involved, and it's weird seeing him involved in this when we know what happens to him over in Avengers/New Avengers.
Yep. That's in the future.
Yep.
I will say that when I originally I heard about how the Inhumans were getting all propped up, getting ready for their big screen treatment, even before the movie was announced, just like what a year or two ago.
Right.
Oh, they're just copying the X-Men, yada yada yada. But now, maybe because it's Charles Soule on it, that I'm loving the series so much and everything Inhuman right now.
It's well written. It's well written. There's a lot of wheels turning and things happening in the story, and there's actually a lot of good character development with these newer characters that make you want to follow their adventures. You don't necessarily care about them yet, but it makes you interested in reading more about them.
I will say I'm enjoying this new franchise probably more than the stuff with the Guardians of the Galaxy right now.
Yeah, I don't know if Guardians of the Galaxy is a legitimate franchise at this point. I know they're trying to capitalize on the movie, but
I mean, it. How many books are there
right,
based off of them right now?
right, 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 right,
I
right.
mean, it's a franchise
I honestly think it could. They
or
would be.
a line of it's a like a family of books now at this point.
Yeah, because they're going to become the Cosmic Line.
Yeah.
Because the Cosmic Line at one point the Cosmic Line was sort of the Silver Surfer books. Not that he led the books, but he was sort of the main character that things sort of revolved around. Especially Infinity Gauntlet era Marvel Cosmic stuff. But now the Guardians of the Galaxy are the central characters of Marvel Cosmic. So they involve Captain Marvel. They involve the Star Lord book, Rocket Raccoon, the team up Guardians team up book. What am I missing?
For which ones?
The Cosmic, Guardians 3000 is also part of that
Guardians
family.
team up,
Right.
which
Guardians
hasn't
team
launched
up.
yet.
Right.
Gamora is gonna get her own series.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that. I did forget about that. So that's another one. I mean, we have to give some of that a shot. I know that. Are you reading the Star-Lord book?
Yes, I'm actually enjoying that one, and I guess maybe because Scotty Young's not doing the art on it anymore. Like Rocket Raccoon's falling down my must-read pile, but
It's for me, it's hit and miss. I'm still not a fan of the bang you I killed you bit, but it's hit and miss for me. Like I pick it up and I'll flip through it, but like you said, it's not a must read for me. Let's see, what else did I read this week? Amazing X-Men again on the chopping block, where we've got a Juggernaut story that's just not that good. Um,
I guess we will say Dirt. I guess probably had to go. So
yes, good luck, Dirt.
yes,
Um, Spider-Man 2099 number 8, Spider-Verse stuff. Did you read this?
no, I have still haven't read all the Spider-Verse tie-ins from last week.
Oh, yeah, you should catch up. Last week's were good. This one was okay.
And Spider-Man 2099, I might be off that book.
Okay.
I mean, it's not bad, but it's not like super enticing to me.
Right. Now here I'm going to give. Now we've gotten to the S's, right? I'm going to give you my surprise sleeper dark horse candidate for Click of the Week. Spider-Man and the X-Men number 2.
That's on my list to read also.
Surprise, surprise, surprise for me, because I was not a fan of the first issue. This issue was surprisingly fun to read. I literally kept flipping through this and just laughing to myself, just at the jokes that were on the page, and that's a good thing. And it moved quickly. It definitely poked fun at some tropes of old superhero comics, and we get to the end, and there's even a joke that a character makes about how, for a character that has a spider sense, a danger sense, Spider-Man often finds himself trapped, or being caught in a trap. So I thought that was pretty funny. Like I said, this is a surprising candidate for Click of the Week for me. Spider-Man and the X-Men number 2 of all the titles that I read this week.
Cool. Clicks of the week.
I think so. Have you been reading Wolverines?
I have, but I haven't read this
Read
week's
this one? Okay, let me see if there's anything else I want to throw out there. It sounds like we're in rapid fire or back issue comics. So let me see, rapid fire. What can I throw out for rapid fire? Let's see. Did I catch all the DC stuff? Guidebook. Have you been reading any of the recent Lantern stuff? I saw that the Red Lanterns was out, Sinestro's out this week.
No.
Man, we've fallen off on so many of these things. I didn't even read Aquaman this week.
And I support the writers, Venditti and Van Jensen, but there's too many events in the Green Lantern side of the books.
I gotcha. Yeah, and I kind of lost interest with the whole Godhead stuff. I couldn't keep up with it.
I remember I read the first issue of Godhead. I know
it was good. We all liked it.
But I don't know, it was just like every week was a different part, and that's why I said there's been too many crossovers with the Green Lantern books.
Right.
And I'm trying to jump back into the Valiant books again since they've got like a good jumping on point. Like I wanted to read Quantum and Woody Must Die before the podcast, but I only got to page 4 of it.
I'm gonna try to read that. That looks good. Now, you know what? I guess we are in Click of the Week area because we're at that time because it looks like I covered everything I read. So no rapid fire reviews.
Okay.
Click of the week.
I already mentioned mine earlier.
What was it?
What was it?
No.
Let me look at the sheet again. Thor number 4.
Nice. That's a candidate. That's a candidate for me.
That was a fun one.
That is a candidate for me. Did Dirt give his?
No, and I didn't get it from him before he left.
Yeah.
He seemed like he liked
Doberman?
Yeah, thank you. I was gonna say that's the Image book I can't remember the name of.
I came in when he was talking about Doberman number 5. I was like, I remember him talking about this, and it makes me want to. I remember him saying something along the lines of going back and rereading the series.
Hmm.
Based off of his recommendation that this is for kids who are fans of '80s action movies, I think I may want to go back and read that book.
And
Um,
there's a new image book from Jonathan Hickman that I might want to at least flip through the first issue of. I saw an article today talking about it was 60 pages long,
I tried. Yes, I tried to read it. I stopped halfway through because I got in the middle of something else, like something interrupted me, and I didn't pick it back up.
and the
It was
title
just
is
so
the
long.
Dying and what's it? The Dying and the Dead. Is that what it's
Yes,
called?
something like
Yeah,
that.
The Dying and the Dead.
Yeah.
So
I tried reading it. Like you said, it's very long.
art
I got
looked
to page 30 something. I was like, oh my god, I'm like halfway done.
Man, too many good books. Bitch Club or Bitch Planet #2 came out. Didn't read that
I
either.
didn't read that. I didn't read that.
But
All right,
what would your
let me give my click of the week. I got to decide. I'm between Thor #4 and Spider-Man the X-Men #2. But you know what? Ultimately, I think I'm going to second you on Thor #4. As much as I enjoyed Spider-Man and the X-Men #2, I think Thor #4 had enough payoffs and still kept the story moving. With that, it made it a nice wrap up to I think the first arc. Is it 4 issue arc? It seems like a
yeah?
4 issue arc,
Because
right?
next issue guest artist, and then Dotterman is back with #6.
Right. So it seemed like a nice little bow to put onto this first 4 story arc for the new Thor. So I'm going to second your click of the week as for Thor #4 by Dowderman and Jason Aaron.
Sweet.
There you go.
All right. So I guess that does it for tonight's episode of Comic Book Chronicles. Make sure to follow us on our individual Twitter accounts. I'm at TimDLGG98 and at TheClickNation. Dirt is at PCN_Dirt on Twitter. And go to his website, popculturenetwork.com. Agent 70 is at Agent_70. Roddycat is at Roddycat and at News Nerds Need. Thank you for joining us live tonight or on replay.
Yeah.
We'll be back next week. So we are the Comic Book Chronicles, and we are signing off.
Hey!